will learn about morphology in flowering plants. What exactly is morphology? Morphology is derived from the two different words, morphe meaning forms and logy meaning study. So morphology in flowering plant is a branch of biology that deals with the study of external features or forms of different organs of a plant body. So what exactly are the different organs of a plant body? Well, plant is derived or differentiated into two main parts. One is the underground root system and the above ground shoot system. The underground root system includes roots and its derivatives, and the above ground shoot system includes the stem, the vegetative parts like the stem, leaves, etc., and the reproductive parts like flower, fruits, and more precisely the seeds as well. Well, now we will discuss each and every organ of the plant body in brief. Okay. So now we will first discuss the root system. Root system, I told you, it is derived from the radical portion of the embryo of the seed. So what happens, a differentiating seed or a growing seed always emerges into an embryonal axis. The embryonal axis is further differentiated into a lower hypocotyle and a upper epicotyle. The lower hypocotyle further differentiates into a structures called as radicle, which further give rise to root and its derivatives. However, the epicotyle differentiates into a structure called as plumule, which further differentiates into shoot system, which includes all the organs of shoots, the reproductive and as well the vegetative organs. So first, coming on to the root system, I told you root is derived from the radicle of the developing embryo. So radicle, whatever the root is derived from the radicle, the primary is called as primary root. The first root emerging from the radicle is called the primary root, and the primary root persists throughout the lifespan is termed as a taproot. So the primary root which persists throughout the life cycle of a plant is called as a taproot, and in turn this primary root is differentiated into laterals called as secondary roots, and this secondary roots in turn differentiates into again a fine roots called as tertiary roots and the rootlets and the fine rootlets. So this includes the taproot system. Apart from the taproot system, there is one more important root system called as fibrous root system. Fibrous root system is predominantly seen in monocots, and the taproot system is seen in case of dicots. Coming to the fibrous root system, here what happens, the primary roots which develops is short-lived, and a tuft or a clusters of roots develop from the lower node of the plant body, and they are called as fibrous root system, usually seen in case of monocots. So there are two types of root system. Predominantly there are two types of root system. One is called as taproot system, which includes the primary roots, secondary roots and the tertiary roots. The primary roots which persist throughout the life cycle of a plant body is called as taproot. So taproot includes primary, secondary and as well the tertiary roots. Coming to the fibrous roots, the second type, it includes clusters of roots arising from the lower node of the plant body, and it is usually seen in the monocots. Apart from these two, there is one more type of root system called as adventitious roots. These are the one which do not develop from a radicle. They may develop from any other part of the plumule. They are termed as adventitious roots. Well, now the next slide will discuss about the regions or zones or the different parts of roots. There are majorly 4 parts in the root system. One is the root cap, the second one is the meristematic region, the third one is the zone of elongation, and the fourth includes the zone of maturation. First region is root cap. It is a cap-like structure covering the root. It is the first structure and a cap-like structure covering the root. It is the one which penetrates deep into the soil. It is said that it secretes a mucilage which helps in the lubrication of the passage for the easy movement of root into the soil. And it is also said to secrete starch grain which helps in the perception of the gravity. The root cap, the cells of the root cap are constantly peeled off when it penetrates into the soil surface, and they are replaced by the meristematic zone, and it partially covers the meristematic zone, which is an important part of the root system. Next to the root cap is a meristematic zone. I told you it is an important part of the root system. It consists of actively dividing meristematic cells. These meristematic cells add on to the number of roots. Next to the meristematic zone is the zone of elongation. Whatever the cells formed in the meristematic zone get elongated and add on to the length of the root. Next to the zone of elongation, the most important function of zone of elongation is they help in the absorption of nutrients from the soil and also water from the soil. Next to the zone of elongation is the zone of maturation. It is said to be a permanent zone. Whatever the cells next to the zone of elongation, they never divide or they do not elongate in the zone of maturation. It is said to be a permanent zone, and from this zone of maturation, from the epiblema or the outer layer, cell layer of the zone of maturation arises the numerous root hairs. Numerous root hairs emerge from the zone of maturation, and they help in the absorption of nutrients from the soil surface. So, these are the main parts of roots, and what are they? Root cap, meristematic zone, zone of elongation, zone of maturation, which includes the root hairs.
ಡಿಯರ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ನೀವು ದಿವಿಗೆ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನಲ್ಗೆ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ಗೂ ಹೇಳಿ, ಇದೇ ಥರ ನೂರಾರು ವೀಡಿಯೋಸನ್ನು ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿ.